Hello everybody and welcome to this lecture. In this lecture we're going to be talking about using cookies and sessions. Now cookies and sessions are data stored on, cookies are stored on the client side and sessions are stored on the server side. Now you've probably have had many websites ask you to make sure you have cookies enabled. Cookies basically save data that can be used to be read on the website, so they can verify who you are pretty much. That's how a lot of websites keep you logged in. They can also be very unsafe if you use them incorrectly. So when you want to use cookies, you want to make sure you do them securely. And when I mean securely, you're going to want to be able to use some sort of encryption on them so that only you know how to decode them and make sure that they are the correct cookie. But I'm not going to be talking about security today. I'm just going to be talking about using regular cookies, maybe here or there, and then we'll move on to sessions, which are much more secure, but they don't offer a long time to be used while using the website multiple times. So, the easiest way to set a cookie is using the function setCookie. It's simple. So you just type setCookie, and then you open and close your parentheses, and then the first parameter, you only need the first parameter, and that's the name of the cookie. Most of the times you're going to be setting a cookie with the value, so in most cases you're going to have these two parameters instead of one. So the first parameter is the name of the cookie. And then the second parameter is what you're storing inside of this cookie, what the value of this cookie is. So I could say value of cookie. So, and cookie is also a super global like get or post. So in order to access all the cookies, it's an array with this variable name $_cookie. So if I were to go into my browser, I have this set cookie name and then value of cookie as the value. And then I'm gonna print the array of cookies. So as you can see, there's no cookies in here yet, because all we did was set them first. But setting them does not automatically render them as available to us, because a cookie is being set in the header, and once it's set, it doesn't mean it's hard to explain, but you have to refresh the page at least once in order to access that cookie. So if I were to refresh now, you would get this name value of cookie, and if we look into the cookie manager here, you can see this cookie name here, and you can see the value is, or the content is value of cookie. The thing I want to look at right now is that the expiration date down here on the bottom. This is that end of session. So if I were to close Firefox right now, then this cookie would be removed. That's how sessions work. So it says at the end of a session. So this cookie will be removed the moment you close the browser. But say you want to keep the person having this cookie for a few hours. So let's go ahead and I'm going to go back into PHP Designer here. And in order to add a longer expiration rather than that at the end of the session, there's a third parameter here which is called the expiration time. So what you do, you want to make this time relevant to the current time. So to get the current time, you use a function called time, and then open and close parentheses, and then you just add how many seconds you want to have this cookie expire after. So if you wanted 1 hour, you'd use 3600 seconds. But obviously with math, you could just do plus 60 times 60 times 3 to get 3 hours. But just for now, we're going to use 3600 like we have now. And the current time is it's 10:07. So if I were to refresh this and then go into my cookie manager, let me okay. And now you can see it expires at 11:07 a.m. So this cookie will be alive even after I close the browser. And if I were to continuously refresh this, it's gonna update the cookie to the new time here. So if we wait for it to go to 08 and then I refresh the page, we would see that the time would update to 11:08 rather than 11:07, which is what it is at currently. So 5 more seconds, we refresh now, blah blah blah. Now it's 11:08. So you can see if you have this set cookie here on the top, it's always going to be setting the cookie. Most of the time you're only going to be setting a cookie when something is posted or something is posted, or you're verifying some kind of data that you want to be able to save for later. Now the thing with sessions and cookies is that you want to set them before you output any HTML. So just to show you, if I said echo hello before the set cookie, normally you would get an error. But because this cookie is already set, it's going to be fine. But when it comes to making sure that everything is set in the correct order, you want to make sure you do all the setting before you output any HTML. In most cases you're going to get an error, but I guess I have that error turned off for now. You would get a header error because cookies and sessions are sent through the header, and then the header is read through the web browser. So now we have this cookie here. We have this there. We could change the value just by saying cookie name and then equals new value if you really wanted to. So now it's new value. Cool. But how do we get rid of the cookie? Well, since this is an array, we can just use this function called unset. And then you just throw in the variable name in there, so cookie name. And then if we did another print r of cookie, you would see when I refresh that there is no longer anything inside of this cookie array. So that's how you would set cookies, and that's how you would modify cookies. So what if you wanted to set the value of someone posting their name? So I'm going to just create this little form here. I'm going to set it to method equals post, and then I'm going to say name and just make an input box like so, and then I'll put a submit button. Okay, so now if I look at my page, I just have this name form with a submit button. Awesome. Now when we talked about using post and get, we want to be sure that the value is set. So in order to verify this form was sent correctly, we just check to see if is set post submit. Okay, and then if post submit is set, then we can look to see if name is not empty. So if not empty post name, like that, else we can say echo please enter a name and a break. Otherwise, if this post isn't submitted, then we're not going to care. And at this point, we're going to do set cookie, so, and then we'll call it your name, and then we'll just set it to the HTML entity value of post name, like so. We're not going to worry about the expiration date, just to keep it short. So now, after this if is set post submit, I'm going to do if not empty cookie your name, I will say echo welcome, and then cookie your name, like that. Else we can echo enter your name, and a colon here. And then we'll just put a break in the HTML like that. So if I refresh, it's going to say enter your name. Awesome. So what would I get when I do Marcus? I hit submit. Okay. Well, we already know that cookies are sent in the header. And since we set the cookie, we didn't modify the header just yet. So if I were to refresh the page now, it would say welcome Marcus. But how do we get it to say when we enter Bob here that it automatically changes to Bob? Well, to modify the header so it automatically refreshes, we just say we have this function called header, and it takes in a string. And now the string is basically what information you're sending to the header. So in this case, we're going to refresh the page to go back to this cookies.php file. And so we're going to say location. This specifies where we're going to send the page now. And then you put a colon after that, and then you just type the file name afterwards. Cookies.php. So now it says welcome Bob. Let's try Linda, and then hit submit. Now it says welcome Linda. Now it says welcome Marcus. So this is changing on the fly. Now, when I said to set the cookie before you modify the header, if I were to echo hello here, put in Bob, well, okay, I guess I have that turned off. So you want to make sure, just to be on the safe side, it really depends on what server you're running on, really, and how you have your PHP configured, that you want to have all your cookies set before you change the header. And then if you're modifying the header, you want to make sure that all the HTML comes after the header is set. So, as you can see, if we go down the line, it's setting the cookie, that's cool, and it changes the header. And anything else that we print out here, that's after that header line. So keep in mind that any HTML, any text you want to render to the screen, it has to come after you modify the header, because the header is what is controlling the page, really. So I could just keep echoing or changing my name. Hello. My name's Hello. So that's a pretty simple way of how to use cookies. This is the example I will be putting in the source code, but I'll throw in an expiration time as well, just so you guys can see it and how it works. So the next thing we want to look at is sessions. So sessions, it's a little different, but it's not as complicated. So let's go back. Sessions. Okay. So sessions are stored on the server, so the user can't modify them. They're safer in theory, but they don't have an expiration date, really, unless they're stored somewhere where they won't be deleted. So if they're stored outside the temporary folder, they won't be deleted when the browser closes, usually. So in order to start a session, well, let's first talk. Session is just an array, just like cookie. So to get that session variable, we would have print our session. Well, as you can see, there's no sessions available. So obviously, we can't see anything out of it. That's okay. Oh, yeah. Did I spell it right? Yeah. Session. It just looks weird. Anyways, so there's nothing in here, so that's fine. So in order to begin a session, we have to literally start the session. So if we want to carry out a session throughout multiple pages, we want to make sure that we have this function called session_start on the top of the script. So the first line of your script after the PHP opening tag should be the session start. That way we can guarantee it always starts. So now if I refresh this, you can see just blank page. And I'm going to keep that print our session in there just so we can see it. So now you can see the session is started. So now we're just looking at an empty array. So without that session start, you're not going to have this array. And instead of using like cookies have, they have this function called setCookie, we literally just create a new index on the array. So we can do session and then the name of it, and then you can just set it to some value. That's how you set a session. You just throw on an index to the session array and assign it some value. So now if I refresh, this time you don't have to modify the header. It will act like an array going throughout the whole thing. So let's create a new file here. And remember to put the session start on the top and then print our session. I'll call this sessions 2. Open a new tab. And you can see it's carrying over that same value from sessions 1. So if I were to change it in sessions 1, something different now, and refresh this page, and then if I refresh sessions 2, you can see this has also changed. So sessions will be carried over from page to page as long as you have that session start on the top of the page. If there's no session start on the top of the page, you're going to run into a problem because the session doesn't exist. So if we wanted to use the same method we use in the cookies, so if I were to literally just copy and paste this code and stick in session start at the top, we would just want to change these values over here. We want to look at the session rather than the cookie. So I just change these to cookie and change this to sessions. But now to set the name, we set session and then your name and then equals the HTML entity value of post name. So now if I were to just go ahead and go here, enter your name, so I can say, actually let's get rid of the header first. I could say my name is Bob, hit submit. Now without having to refresh the page, just after submitting it, you can see that the session was updated automatically. So it's being changed. So that's just one plus to using sessions. It really boils down on how you want to be able to use these. Like if you want to store someone's data so they were logged on forever, you are going to most likely use a cookie. But if you just wanted to store like some value that you're using to submit a survey or something, you're most likely just going to use a session because you only need it for that specific time that the file is open for. Now, let's create a checkbox here. So I will say end session, and then I'll put the checkbox in. Name equals end, and value equals 1. So now on here I just have this end session little button. And what we're going to do, if this button is checked, we'll destroy the session completely. So before we check if the name is empty, we want to check if they decided to end the session. So if they decided to end the session, so if is set post end, then we can just say session destroy. And then this is where you would want to refresh the header. Like so. So let's just refresh that. Even though I am entering in a new name, but I'm hitting end session here and hitting submit, that name value is gonna be ignored because it's checking if it was sent first like this, and then we destroy it. This destroys the whole session. So it gets rid of every single variable, every single session that you've set already, and just removes it. So there's nothing in this array unless we say Bob. Now it says welcome Bob. Welcome Marcus. We could just hit end session, cool, enter your name, session's been destroyed. Another way to destroy this session, or just to get rid of a specific session, we can use unset as well, like we did with the cookie. So unset your name. So if I typed in Bob again, and then I hit end session, hit submit, Bob's gone. So that's pretty simple. So just to recap, sessions, they expire when the browser is closed, or usually if they've been inactive for long enough. And cookies, they can have a set expiration date to expire and be deleted, and that is relative to the current time of its being set. The only bad thing about cookies is that the user can modify them freely. So if they understand how you're encrypting your data, they can encrypt it themselves and put in new data and be logged in as someone else. So obviously you're gonna want to be taking precautionary measures to making sure that the cookie is valid. And if it's not, just destroy the cookie. That's it. So yeah, this is sessions and cookies, and this will probably be very helpful when it comes to discussing the first project we want to do, and that will be available on Wednesday, where we will talk about what is expected after learning this for over 6 weeks or so now. So I will see you guys on Sunday, or Wednesday, sorry. Today is Sunday. Today's actually Monday. So I'll see you then. Alright, goodbye.